Would you believe me if I said Catholic core is a thing? Well, apparently it is.
These are some of the trending cores or aesthetics for 2023 fashion from a fashion major. First up, we have this Catholic aesthetic. I've seen it called the Roman Catholic aesthetic or the Hispanic Catholic aesthetic.
What the fuck? Is this allowed?
No hate to this creator at all, but not the Hispanic Catholic aesthetic. Why are we making religions an aesthetic? Is this not cultural appropriation, or am I chronically online, as the kids these days put it? Have aesthetics gone too far? Time and time again, I've covered different aesthetics, and I've always had to talk about the problems and the controversy surrounding these aesthetics, and it's starting to become a pattern. So I thought it'd be interesting to start some conversation around this, because I'm not sure how to answer this question, to be honest. So I thought I'd cover some of the issues I see pop up again and again when I research these aesthetics, so we can start some conversation around this, starting with overconsumption and microtrends. We all know that with the rise of TikTok, there was also a big rise in microtrends. Fashion trends have always cycled. It's usually like trends coming back every 20 years, but the trend cycle is cycling all right, and it's cycling faster than ever before. I've seen trends come and go within the span of months or even weeks, and this can be so concerning and lead to overconsumption. People love newness and the excitement of buying the latest trends, and people love fitting in, but this can lead to people buying things and tossing them out within months. It's not a sustainable way to live at all, and this Good On You article puts it best when they said that the problem is that fast fashion brands fuel the feedback loop of these trends, quickly turning out cheap polyester versions to meet the newfound demand. That's where microtrends raise ethical questions and even some questions about our consumer psychology. Faster production, exploited manufacturing processes, and plastic clothing are needed to keep up with the demand that microtrends create. If you've seen my How to Build an Aesthetic Wardrobe videos before, you know that when I talk about where to shop for an aesthetic, I always first recommend thrifting or buying secondhand, not only because I personally love thrifting, but it's just so much more sustainable than buying new and buying into these trends. But even by just making this content on trendy aesthetics, I feel like I'm still contributing to the problem of overconsumption. Even if I get you guys to thrift microtrends, is that enough? I feel like we need to avoid microtrends altogether and develop your own personal style so that you invest in pieces that you know you'll keep wearing for years and years. I've also seen a trend on TikTok where people talk about items they regret buying because they turn out to be microtrends and they don't like them anymore, even if it was just a few months ago. And I feel like this is a step in the right direction. I feel like people are starting to recognize microtrends more easily and know that they won't like these items in just a few months. And that's a good thing. We're definitely moving in the right direction if we can recognize microtrends and avoid those. Another problem I see a lot is the lack of inclusivity in aesthetics. Let's be honest, a lot of aesthetics seem to cater to or romanticize the lives of upper class or middle class thin white women. You see this a lot with ballet core, coquette, and the pink Pilates princess aesthetic. And specifically with ballet core, this goes way back because ballet is historically a not very inclusive sport. This article by Cast and Coin puts it really well, and trigger warning because it does mention eating disorders, but people have claimed that adult women are sexualizing children's clothes and should stop dressing like young dancers. Unfortunately, there isn't much talk about this perspective of the trend and seems to be disregarded while people focus on the other issues the trend promotes or wholeheartedly ignored by those that enjoy the aesthetic. People are also concerned that the trend seems to further perpetuate the issues that come with ballet, such as eating disorders and racism. Ballet core is not about being a ballerina, but looking like one, specifically focusing on really thin, underweight body frames that could promote disordered eating and other issues with young girls' mental health. The history of ballet is riddled with racism, and the current trend is seen as emphasizing thinness and whiteness alike in fashion. So as you can see, there's a lot of issues people are concerned about with ballet core, and a lot of it stems from ballet itself. On a similar note, these types of aesthetics can also lead to an unrealistic or unhealthy lifestyle. For example, the pink Pilates princess aesthetic, which is very similar to ballet core, but instead of ballet, it focuses on Pilates, and it really pushes this idea of an active lifestyle where you're always working out, you're always drinking green juices or smoothies, And this can be motivating and lead to a healthy lifestyle where you're more active and eating healthy. But it can also be unrealistic and unsustainable because you see these influencers always working out and always eating healthy. You feel like you always have to do that, and you might be really hard on yourself if you miss a workout or if you eat one unhealthy meal. So I feel like this can take a big toll on your mental health, and we need to promote mental health as much as we do physical health when it comes to these aesthetics. The pink Pilates princess aesthetic also shows a lot of thin white women, similar to ballet core, so I think we could use a lot of representation here as well. But does this mean that we should avoid these aesthetics altogether? Because on the other hand, we have creators of color and of different sizes challenging this idea of what a ballerina should look like, and that can be a really good thing. I feel like we really need to promote more representation in this aesthetic, and to do that we should definitely promote and support these creators of all different backgrounds. Similarly, cultural appropriation and stereotyping is another issue I see a lot with aesthetics. For example, the Hispanic Catholic aesthetic that I mentioned in the intro. This is just so weird to me because I grew up Catholic and I just never imagined Catholic would be an aesthetic. And I don't think the visuals are necessarily the problem aside from the outright religious imagery, but why are we calling it Catholic core? I feel like we could at least name it something different, like the Renaissance aesthetic I've seen people suggest, or Capulet core, like from Romeo and Juliet. And I think that's a very fitting name as well, and it still fits the visuals. I also see a lot of very suggestive outfits in this aesthetic, and it really feels like we are sexualizing Catholicism, and that's just not right. It really isn't. We shouldn't sexualize any religion or culture and turn it into an aesthetic. We also have the that girl or clean girl aesthetic, which on the surface seems harmless, but a lot of these trends in this aesthetic are directly taken from people of color, like the slick back hair and the gold hoops. And when people of color would do it, they would get hated on for it, but when white women do it, it's clean girl. That's funny, but not really funny though. It's literally cultural appropriation. I'm not sure if this falls under cultural appropriation, but we also saw the issue of anti-Semitism in Goblin core. Because Goblin has historically been used as a slur against Jewish people, it is very problematic to have an aesthetic called Goblin core. And so this became an issue, and it caused a push to call it Gremlin core instead. Aesthetics are so often born out of romanticizing a certain lifestyle, and so this could so often lead to cultural appropriation and stereotyping. Another issue I see with aesthetics is that they sometimes can stifle creativity. Now, this is not nearly as big an issue as the other ones I talked about today, but sometimes I see people ask, like, can I wear this in dark academia or fairycore or whatever aesthetic? And my answer is always yes, wear whatever you want. I feel like sometimes people get too hung up on trying to fit an aesthetic exactly that they don't allow themselves to explore different styles and explore different types of clothing. You don't have to be one aesthetic or live your life by one aesthetic. If you like something, wear it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fit your aesthetic. If you only wear what someone tells you fits your aesthetic, I feel like you're missing out on so many creative opportunities and opportunities to develop your own personal style, which can also help you avoid microtrends. So full circle moment here. And that's one good thing that I actually like about aesthetics. It really does help you to explore different styles. It's so much easier to find inspiration and learn about the history of different aesthetics. And so I like to use aesthetics as a search term. Like you could Google fairycore and so much inspiration comes up on this certain style of clothing now. And so I like to research aesthetics like this and take certain elements from these aesthetics and incorporate them into my wardrobe instead of trying to fit the aesthetic exactly. Don't fall into that trap of thinking you have to match an aesthetic exactly. It's a lot of fun to mix aesthetics and to come up with new aesthetics, which I might do a future video on because I just think it's a fun creative exercise to come up with your own aesthetics. I feel like we've reached a time period where different styles are more accepted, and we should definitely take advantage of that and explore different styles and use that exploration to develop your own personal style. So, have aesthetics gone too far? In some ways, yeah, it definitely has. But will I keep creating aesthetic content? For now, yes. For me, it's such a creative outlet. I feel like in the past couple years since I've started this YouTube channel, I have gotten to explore so many different styles, and I really feel like I'm starting to figure out what my personal style is and figure out what I like and what I feel confident in. And so exploring aesthetics really helps you figure that out. So I will keep talking about aesthetics, but I also will keep recommending thrifting and DIY, and I will keep talking about any controversies surrounding aesthetics because it is so important to be aware of those controversies, be aware of the issues surrounding aesthetics, and be aware of what they promote and where they come from. So maybe I'll revisit this question again in the future if aesthetics continue to become more and more problematic, because I don't want to promote that. But for now, I feel like aesthetics are very helpful in figuring out your personal style, and it's just really fun to explore different styles. So I will keep creating this content, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, so definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if you want to continue this conversation, I also have a Discord server where we can talk about all things fashion and aesthetics, and I even have a channel on ethics and sustainability, so we can get the conversation started in there. I'll link it down below, and you can also check out my Etsy shop where I have jewelry, book covers, and art prints, and I would really appreciate it if you check that out. But otherwise, let me know what you think, and let me know what videos you want to see in the future, and I will see you guys next time.